Could you please state and spell out your full name?
Sokhen, Sokhen, and my last name Mao, Mao.
What is your date of birth?
May 1st, 1964. The sign is the dragon.
Where were you born?
I was born in a village called Phnom Penh, and then in the district of Boribo and in the province of Kampong Chnang. So Phnom Penh, Srok Boribo, had Kampong Chnang.
What kind of area was that?
It's basically is a countryside, right? Countryside, and all of us, like any other parents, are rice farmers.
How long have you been in the United States?
I came here on April 13, 1982. So it's 41 years.
What did your family do before the Khmer Rouge took over?
My my family is all rice farmers, but the Khmer Rouge took over our village in 1971 because our village there was a highway run across um, from the city of Phnom Penh to Battambang. So the Khmer Rouge basically tried to destroy part of that highway to prevent any supply going back and forth between Battambang and the city of Phnom Penh. So my village got hit first. So 1921, I escaped from my village and came straight to the city of Phnom Penh.
What do you remember about the war?
It's that we heard a little bit about the Khmer Rouge, that it's all they call um, the communists. But as soon as we heard the Khmer Rouge, everyone said that they're bad people. So when they invade my village, we took off. We just ran and ran, and they said, "Don't run, because we came here in peace. We came to take you away from the oppression." But my mom said, no, we just run. And as we run to the Tonle Sap River to escape them, they chased after us, keep shooting us from behind, shell us. But we finally reached to the Tonle Sap River, and we were rescued by the monk. And after stay there for a few days, and then they came after us again, more shooting, more killing, and we basically were thrown into a boat, a small boat that's not enough to fit for all five of us. So my mom and my oldest brother were in the front and in the back, pushing the boat, while my brothers, three brothers, were in the boat, and cousin too, three of us. And then we from there on we came straight to Phnom Penh and lived there. So after a while, I had started to attend school, but then my life again interrupted by the war because of the Khmer Rouge came in 1975. So war, I always say that when you start war, you cannot stop war because too much bloodshed, too much uh, destructions, too much killing. You cannot undo it. When it start, it's just so hard. So after they took over the Cambodia in 1975. So from there on until 79, that's when we were rescued by the Vietnamese, invaded by the Vietnamese. So it was 4.5 years of hell, basically. Any of my age gone through hardship, tortures, starvation, and it's and death of the family members and stuff like that. So those are the harsh reality of life of 4.5 years of life that everyone never escape. Um, none like everyone have been tortured one way or another and deprived of food and starvation and hard labor.
Did your whole family make it?
My um, my oldest brother were um, captured while he was working in the rice field, and found out that my whole family was in the military and also from the city. So they caught my brother first, and then they were executed. And then they almost like forgot all about it because at that time was in early years in 1925. So therefore, they allow my brother to be cremated. The one of the chief of the village said, "Look, go ahead if you want to. You can cremate your son." Asked my mom. It was the first cremation ever that we be able to cremate my brother, but the three people were asked to help my brother cremated were all being killed the next day because someone found out that who gave them the time to do such things, because they're not allowed to have any more Buddhist monk, teachers and lawyers, and now these people have a time to take off, cremate someone, have proper ceremony. So my brother got killed first, and then it came my father. And when it came my father, because my father was a soldier and he was a major back then, so they had to be killed. But my father was spared for a while because they asked him again and again that if you're a true farmer, what can you tell us if you want to live? What can you do to show me that you're a true farmer? He said, "Well, I farm all my life, even though I was a soldier, but I was a farmer. I know how to make ropes. I know how to build oxen, water buffalo cart. I know how to make harrows and plow." So they asked my father to make ropes for them. And my father taught me how to make rope. And so the first stage, it was speared. Uh, they spared his life. But then later on, another set of leaders came and then they took him away. And when they took him away, I basically went after him and looking for him. And that's why I end up in jail with him and torture and almost ready to be executed. But I was saved by someone else came because they need people, young people like me, to continue farming and working for our leader. So they asked if I can. One of the executors said, "Can I take this guy and this kid to be in my group leader, my group?" So I spear from execution. But my mom, everyone were tortured and just about killed, but they all took up into the wood and escaped the execution. So only my mom, my three brother alive, my oldest, and were killed with my father during the Khmer Rouge.
When you were in Phnom Penh, did they separate you from your family?
We were not in the Phnom Penh. As soon as the Khmer Rouge took over the city, they basically told us that you have only a few hours to pack up your belonging and get out the city as soon as possible because the American is going to bomb the city. And when my father was a soldier on the eastern part of Cambodia, I heard those things. I experienced those things firsthand that American, of course, bombed, and I could feel it many times. And but other people never had that experience. So my mom said, "Okay, if they really come to bomb the city, uh, listen to the order. Let's pack up and leave." But again, it's not our choice to stay. They say that everyone, whatever you can carry, dead alive, everyone had to be out city. So we left the city and we went to be basically become either a refugee or um, send the countryside to work for the they call Angkar, the leader, and that part of the Khmer Rouge rearranged the society that everyone had to be on the countryside. So we're not in the city back then. From 1975 to 1979, it's all in the countryside.
So in the countryside, what were your jobs? What were you forced to do?
For at my age, like 7, 8 years old, they put into they call special group, which is between that age, everyone had to be farming, um, and anyone who 18 and older, and that's called special group, and put in a higher category that's more hard labor. But my job was to dig irrigation and also to bring supply for farmers. So if the elders say that, okay, we are done with harvesting the young rice to be transplanted to the next rice field, we are the one who help to carry them to the next rice field. And if one uh, leader said that, okay, we need young group to help us with the irrigation, and we basically everyone the only position we have is just uh, a hole, just to dig up the irrigation. So that's one position and one spoon. So every time someone said, "Okay, the next village need irrigation," and a group of 30 or 60 people went there and dig irrigation. So we are not in specific in any job design. We just being told what to do, but most of the time it's digging irrigation and for farmers.
What was life like? Did you make any friends?
You don't have time to make friend. You don't have time to talk. You're not allowed to talk. I don't remember that we're allowed to whistle. I don't remember anyone ever singing any song, and I don't remember I listened to any music that wasn't propaganda. I know that I love the music during that time was all they call Khmer Rouge music. It's totally different, but I never ever heard anyone play any music before 1975 music. And I don't I remember any day a week of the month because we had to work 7 days a week. Um, we had to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and then work until noontime, and then we're allowed to have lunch. And then after lunch, we had to work again until 5 or 6 o'clock. Everyone had to come back to the base, and then they give us some more rice. And again, this is not real rice; this is rice grill. Um, and after we eat for about 30 minutes, and everyone said, "Okay, let's start again." We work until 11 o'clock at night. So many sleeps, and this is 7 days a week. So I don't hear any thing that I used to hear before 1975. We're not allowed to make friends. And if you talk about making friends, you talk politely to each other, you will be killed because everyone think that you are the child from the city. So you have to be careful about who you talk with. If you talk too proper, um, and then they think that you are from the child of the educated family. So everyone call each other mud. Mud is mean friend, and you're not allowed to call bong. You're not allowed to call mean, poo, or mud. Mud mean, mud poo, mud bong. You have to put mud in front of it. So if you say bong, and then they suspect you that where you come from, why you use that polite word.
What were the guards like?
It's not a guard. It's basically there's a group of 30 and a group of 30. Each group of 30 divided into a group of 10, and each 10 have two leaders. So there are two leaders, and then the the people who in charge of that 30 group also have three leaders. So basically, there's no God, and so everyone is watch each other, and everyone basically probably want to be proud that they want to show solidarity, so loyalty to the Angkar, the Khmer Rouge leader. So if you say with proper things, stuff like that, they report to their leader. Their leader, the Krom, they call the Krom. Krom is a group leader of 10, and then that group leader of 10 report to the leader group of 30, and that's when they can make decision whether to keep you or kill you. So there's no God. It's just among us who are assigned to be the leader, and their leader is basically use all their power to save, to keep, or to kill. And if you during their time, if you were sick 2 days or more, and then they said that there's no point of keeping you, the feeding you. So I know that a few times I was sick, and I know that they give us like 10 tablespoons of rice grill. So when you're sick, you only give you 7 spoons of rice grill. And then they start reducing more and more. And by the third day, it's time to get rid of you. There's no point to keep you. So that's why there's no friend to make, and it's no God in the group. It's just among us who capable of doing bad things and kill each other because they don't like us.
What were things that could have gotten you in trouble in the camp?
Again, go back to using the Khmer rules, right? I hardly ever. get in trouble. I was such a hard worker. When I heard that my youngest brother were put into a the called Kokma is basically it's a group of 3 to 5 years old, 6 years old group, and they're called Kokma. And I heard that he was not doing well, and he had foot infection, left foot infection, and every time he got into water, he started screaming, and he refused to do things because at that age, as soon as you be able to walk and talk and carry an ox or a knife, you are basically were trained to do helping around the farm. And he couldn't do those things because his leg was always hurt. So I took him over, and even though I had him, and it was so incapable to do anything at all at digging, help me with irrigation time, but they give me 4 yardstick to dig up the irrigation. And since my brother was with me, they also give me another 4 yardsticks. So here myself, I had to dig up that 8 yardsticks of irrigation and making the dam, digging the hole just like everyone else. After I finished mine and my youngest brother, I try to help other people. So I always try to please them because even though I try so hard, but at the same time, they said to kill me, my youngest brother, and my oldest brother because they said that these the kids shouldn't be kept at all because they made the youngest sitting on the dry ground while everyone else trying to work. So I try to please so much, but trouble always find me because I try to help other.
How old were you during the Khmer Rouge?
8 years old, I work just like everyone else. They call short point group. At that age, you want to show Angka, our leader, the loyalty that we are the true loyal group to our Angka. So we do special things to show them we are the hardest worker. We are the next revolution of our leader.
Did you try to escape?
There is no point. Um, I know from the beginning that my father, when we're all living together, tried to do that. This is early, well, the end of 1925, when we brought us to the countryside, and he tried, but there is no point because they are everywhere in the forest. So after my father died, my oldest brother died, and I was in a special group. There is no way, no how that I can find to escape anywhere. There's no point because whether you escape to another village, if they find you, they will kill you. So basically, stay with them, stay alive, and work hard to show and loyalty to our leader.
The Vietnamese came and they helped you escape?
The Vietnamese wasn't helped to escape, and at that time I was young because I didn't know the whole story about in the Vietnamese, and I heard from the elder that yes, there's an invasion, and we were trained like probably almost a year that there will be invasion, and we were given like about at least a, a couple, half a yardstick long. Each one of us have those stick to take with us, sleep with us, just in case the invader coming in. So they train us to use our stick. And we didn't know who's the invader. We just said that someone could invade our country. And later on, I learned that the Vietnamese invade the country. And at that time, I was in a group. Um, um, didn't have my mom, didn't have my brother, didn't have anyone at all. It's all on my own. I didn't know when where my youngest brother were at the time. So when they said that, okay, everyone run because the invasion coming in, and at that time I was in a prison because I stole some rice. So they said that just go, let's go, and so I ran and ran. I ran to my village to look for my mom, and I couldn't find anyone because everyone were gone into the forest to hide from the invader. And I just sat on steps and just cried. But one of the older guy came in and said, "What are you doing here? Everyone's run." And so he showed me the way how to go about if I want to find someone else. So I just listened to him, and I know, my ways around when I was in the countryside. So I took that road, and sure enough, I met my mom and my youngest brother. When I met my mom and youngest brother, and then I learned that my mom and my youngest brother were also in prison, were tortured, and they couldn't walk. So they were basically crawling among the people into the forest. But my mom and my youngest brother were so lucky, and they met my sister-in-law. Uh, um, she remarried during the Khmer Rouge, and her husband basically didn't want to leave my mom behind, so they started scouting. Um, Came back to the village looking for any oxen or water buffalo that's still there. So sure enough, on the countryside, they still see a lot of water buffalo and oxen grazing. So they took a pair of oxen, and then they made like the Native American, they made like a cart, and then let the animal carry my mom on that cart and take her places. And when we were walking, and sure enough, my older brother who survived the killing was walking along other kids in the group. So my mom was screaming and said, "Son, come here, we are over here." And he refused to come to us because the Khmer Rouge leader said, "Don't leave us, you have to stay with us here." But my mom said, "Don't be stupid. There's no more leader. Come." And then he kept walking, and then I think my brother-in-law, they remarried, and somehow go and grab him from the group. And then that's where we met each other along the way when we were escaping the invader. But then I learned later on that yes, it was indeed the Vietnamese invade Cambodia. Back then, it wasn't. I don't remember anyone. It's just like the invader, and there's a lot of killing along the way. So that's why we escaped. I mean, that's why I learned later on that's a Vietnamese, and we just say, okay, the Vietnamese or the invader came from the east, and we basically run to the north to Battambang, the main city, who getting a little closer, like to Thailand.
How many days were you walking?
I don't remember. Those are, when you at young age, when you see things so small, you think it's large. And when you walking, I don't know how many days, but it was days, just walk and walk nonstop. And we sleep along the road, and we found so many deaths along the road. And then we walk again. And after, I don't know, like 4 or 5 days of walking, and then uh, I couldn't believe my mom started yelling again. And he yelled the name of my uncle, Sonoy, Sonoy. I said, "Who is Sonoy?" And my mom said, "It's your uncle." I thought my uncles all dead in 1971 when the Khmer Rouge invade my village. And because my my uncles, my aunts, we were separate that time, and we thought of each other as all dead. So when my mom said, it's a noise," and then he came, and I said, "Well, my family live in Battambang," and then he was walking the other way to find food. And that's how my mom saw him walking among the group of people. So this was like chaos, people running from one way and people running the other way to looking for food, and we running, escaping the invader, because they keep telling us that, look, don't go back because there's a lot of killings by the soldiers, by the invader along the road. So keep running, don't turn around. But then we saw a lot of men and women running the other way because they say that in Battambang there's no food. So they run to looking for food. And that's how my mom met my uncle, who presumed dead a long time ago. So I met my cousin, my aunt and uncle for a second time after so many years. So we came in the second largest city in Battambang for a while.
What was it like experiencing all that death at a young age?
I always see that I see more death than life. I when before even the war, before the when Khmer Rouge, I told you that my father was a soldier and he was a major. So he sent a group of battalion to the eastern part of Cambodian border to protect the Viet Cong and also to protect the Khmer Rouge. And while I was visiting him in his military compound, um, there are so many invasion by the Khmer Rouge and the Viet Cong. And one night there was a heavy fighting, and the place with my father was a Ratanakari, and Ratnagiri is not like the day that I see now. Ratnagiri back then, that's all forest, rainforest, thick forest. Even the truck couldn't go to bring supplies. So my father, they give him about 13 elephants to help to bring all the military supplies, and then use some of uh, the plane brought our heavy equipment, and we start to build this military compound in the middle of nowhere. And one time there was a heavy fighting, and I was in a foxhole. And since my father was a military commander, his foxhole had three stages to it. There's an underground where the sleeping quarter, and there's a second ground where is command quarter, and then the highest level where the watchtower. So it had all the machine gun on top of it. And then there's a 55 millimeter gun, which is all this big one that we have back then. It's all around his compound there. And one night the Khmer Rouge were invaded, and my father bodyguard said, Sokhen, press number one. As they call the claymore. Claymore is a mine that have the remote control back then, and put the along the wall of my father commander pole. So it says, okay, press number one. When I press number one, you can see things were flying in the air because people were on try to crawl over the fence, hop over the fence to cross into the compound. And when we shoot up the flare, you can see everyone were crawling. All the black people were trying to either crawl underneath or climb under the fence, and like four set of fence, and try to climb it. And then everyone will panic, say, press number two, press number five. And every time I do that, people were flying. So by morning, and my father ordered, say, okay, let's go run up and bury them. And CAC that was so many times already. And during the daytime, while my father always can send out scout, like sometime either 5 or 10 soldiers to do the scouting. And during the Vietnam War, you heard a lot of stories said that we do body count. During my time, we do head count. So the soldier came back with only head, cutting the Khmer Rouge head, and we said, okay, today we found three, and carry the head and put on a stick. So on the stick, you see so many heads lying out from the months old to a fresh kill, and other kids use it for slingshot practice, a target. So I see death all over places, so young age, and so it's become a norm to me. And because I see death and destruction, and when you see death in your own family, that's when it hit you that, yeah, and now it's my turn to die just like everyone else. I'm old enough that I be able to remember what I see, what I hear, what I touch. um, so 15 years old, 16 years old, these all the time that I spend death, see so my death. So as soon as starting in 1975 on, that's when the real killing start. Before I only see death because it's not close up, but from 1975, it's all close up death. It's all being killed in front of you. People being killed, and that you're forced to watch, and also you were forced to kill. If you don't kill, you'll be killed. But I was so lucky. I never asked to be killed, but I asked, made sure that I watch when they're killed. And when it come to myself and no one watched me, when it was almost my turn to be killed, and it was three times that people, the Khmer Rouge were about to be execute me. One time, to my father. Second time, when my mom and I were trying to find forests. This is before we were separated. We find food and basically they caught us. And then the last time was it myself when I tried to steal food and eating by myself. And the group leader found me that I was eating in a secret way, and that's when so to try to kill myself. So three times I escaped death during the Khmer Rouge.
When did you reach the refugee camp?
I got there in 19 just right after the Vietnamese invade. Right away, my mom said my mom was be able to start walking a little by little, and she had so my goal that she were hidden from the Khmer Rouge back then. And then she started to chop up small pieces of gold and ask the Vietnamese soldier or ask other people, say, please help me with medicine. So they give her shots and with a lot of walking and stuff like that to be able to walk again because it was almost a year that was she kept in confinement with her leg shackled and every day she was being whipped and hit and smashed. And my youngest brother was the person that witnessed all this torture with her. So 1 year of non-walking and whipping and beating. That's why she couldn't walk at the time. So when the Vietnamese came, she started to trade a gold with medicine, and she started to help herself walk again after a month, more than a month. She was try hard to try to survive, and then said, "I'm going to go ahead, whether I crawl on my legs and arm, but I need to find out how to get out of Cambodia because we learned all along in the history that our neighbor Vietnamese and Cambodian and never be kind to each other. So we already spent 4.5 years of killing and during the communists, and the Vietnamese are also the communists. So basically, since we heard story about that, we my mom said, I want to get out. So that's why she came by herself first to the border. And then she learned that there's a lot of Cambodian escaping to Thailand. And then she said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and brought my kids there. So since my mom have a lot of gold with her, she tried to use it, part of the gold to hire someone to help us escape from Cambodia to Thailand. So I got there at the end of 1979 and to the refugee camp, not in right at the border, at Thai Cambodian border.
What camp were you in?
The first camp it was called Para. Para is a freedom fighter who were escaped the Khmer Rouge in 1975. They went into the forest and they basically maintained their military group and then stay at the border all this time. So we were staying there, and I basically uh, dig up water irrigation and to help selling, making some money. And at the same time, um, we heard that there's another camp that was built by the American. So um, that's when my mom said, "Okay, let's go to another camp that was more secure than the camp that we were there." So the second camp that we were, it was Khao camp, and Khao camp basically it deeper inside Thailand, and basically it's run by other foreigners, not by the freedom fighter.
What kind of work did you do in that camp?
On the first camp, like I said, I dig up a well and to sell water, but then if I wasn't careful, the freedom fighter um, used children at my age to help to bring supply, the military supply to the front line. And the military was fighting against the Vietnamese back then, against the Vietnamese, against the Cambodian, who also part of the Vietnamese soldier. So I was three times when I was in the freedom fighter camp that I was asked, not asked, but were being forced to carry war supply to the front line. And so I became the children soldier to give us one gun, one magazine, and basically a bamboo balance to carry the supply to the front line. So there's a group of sometimes 10 to 15 kids. So 3 times I did that. And then when I was in the Khao camp, basically that's not much to do. Before, during my time, it was all wood. It's all elephant grass, bush, stuff like that, and the mountain on the background. So they start to basically ask us to help clear, so we can build a camp. So I was a part of the first refugees that in that camp and start from nothing at all. It's all wood and grass. And we didn't do anything. We couldn't do anything because now it's nothing. There's no village nearby. So we survive by whatever support by the American or the other people there. So we have ration. They give us maybe chickens and rice. Um, beans, um, also ramen noodles. These are ration that they give us to survive. So I didn't do anything back then for years until later on after a year in the refugee camp. And then my mom said, let's try to sell noodle. So that's when I made a little stand and selling noodle. But every day Thai soldier always came into refugee camp and harassing us, not allow us to sell or make anything, sell anything because they basically they want us to survive what they supply to us. If we make money, the Thai people will not make money. So they came and chase us and dump the soup on the floor when they when they get close to us. Just run for life. Otherwise, they will beat us up so bad if they caught us uh, with the pots and pans selling stuff.
When did your family decide to move to the United States?
My mom again. I always talk about my mom because this lady, um, I never seen any mom that were so strong and so committed to raise her kids, even though she's not well educated, but she's so well committed. Um, my mom heard that in order for us to leave refugee camp, that we had to apply and to either go to Australia, Canada, or America. My sister-in-law, thanks to her, that they had picture of my father and my oldest brother dressed in a military uniform, and said, "Mom, why don't you use this?" So my mom said, "Okay, my husband is a soldier, major, and my youngest brother, my oldest son is also a soldier and also a doctor and work for American." And that's when my mom applied, asked someone to help put that application and send. And then months later, we keep watching over them on the bulletin board of the announcement who's were accepted to leave the refugee camp, stuff like that. We keep watching. Finally, I saw my mom's name, Brak Khan. And that's when we said, okay, Brak Khan allowed to leave the refugee camp. Um, we didn't know where to go to, but it just like we allowed to leave the refugee camp. But we also heard back then that, well, if you want to leave refugee camp faster, you had to join Christian. You had to become Christian. So my mom said, okay, well, join the Christian then. So all of us, we had pictures that all my mom, my uh, brother, sister-in-law were all lining up holding Bible and said, okay, here we go. We were baptized, this baptism, and this is our Bible. We believe in God. So go ahead and take us. So we did. So we became Christian. And we just hope that America will take us.
Who in the church group helped you?
There's another story too that they said that there's no Buddhist temple in America. In order for you to come to America, you had to become Christian. So that's how we became Christian, and it's all sponsored by church. And um, so my I found a sponsor, my family, and my other family. I had my older brother who had married, and he now become his own family. So when we were supposedly refugee camp, we were separated by lying it in a different role. So he was assigned to go to Philippine refugee camp, and I was assigned to the Indonesia refugee camp called Kalong. So uh, I was my brother. I didn't know who my brother was a sponsor, but my family, my mom, my youngest brother, myself, we said that we were accepted by the church in Portland, Oregon. It's an organization in Portland, Oregon. And when we were in a refugee camps in Thailand, they always show us like um, birth control movie, Jesus movie. But when I was in the Indonesia camp, they show us Jesus movie, but a lot of cowboys movies, and I love cowboys movie. And one time, the screen came up. They called Portland, Oregon, and then I saw a group of Indians chasing cowboys, and sometimes drag cowboys behind their horses. And I saw a group of cowboys dragging Indian behind their wagon, and also so much shooting. After the movie end, I couldn't wait to go home and told my mom we are not going Portland, Oregon. We just escaped war. We are not going to another war. So my mom went to the UN. There's a UN team in the refugee camp and said, "My son said there's so much war there, and we're not going to Portland, Oregon." While we're waiting, I find a new sponsorship ship there, and then they found out that, well, I just found that your brother was living in Massachusetts and sponsored by a church there. And they show us a picture of Massachusetts, and they said it's cold and stuff like that. And not me Cambodian. They said we better be cold than being dragged behind a wagon and get into the war again. So then they said, but my brother there, so we will have each other there. So that's how I end up in Massachusetts, because they found my brother the first of all because we were looking for sponsorship, but they found out my brother who was sponsored by the Lutheran immigration here, and that's how we came to uh, America, sponsored by the church.
What was arriving in Amherst like?
I didn't speak English, so it was hardship, and I know that I they always ask me what kind of food I like. I'm just a lucky person that I eat everything. Every time the doctor asks me if I allergic anything, I say I'm not allergic anything. I love everything. I'll be able to eat just about everything. My sponsors brought me turkey. It's tasteless. Turkey is like no flavor at all, and I didn't like turkey. But if they bring real chicken, I said yes, it's my suffer chicken. And when they bring me pasta and spaghetti, I said I don't like those. Too sweet, and it's not the kind of noodle we eat. I thought that they said that I'm going to bring you noodle, but that noodle in terms of spaghetti is back then, and I don't like it. And so it was very hardship. The first 3 4 years, it was so harsh. Didn't speak any English, didn't know how to get around. And my brother, I live in Amherst, what they call Amherst Crossing, right near the Cumberland Farm in Amherst here. And I have to clean my church in North Amherst. So that many miles of walking. There's a bus, there are free buses running there, but I couldn't read the sign on the bus that go to North Amherst and go to South Amherst and go to Badgertown, and their bus stopped right near my apartment. But I was afraid to take a bus because I don't know where the bus will take me. So I walked for months cleaning church. In my church, every Saturday I had to clean the church, and couldn't find a job. I didn't speak much English, and um, and then we couldn't get the the food that my mom and myself used to eat. So one time we learned that, well, there's a lot of stores in Providence, Rhode Island. And Providence, Rhode Island, back then there's more Cambodian than Lowell, and more stores. So the whole street was all basically by the um, Cambodian store. So we'd be able to shop there. So like one car we able to just um, one have one car, and then people pitch in to pay money for gas, pay money to rent video tape, and then we split everything when we got there. So it's hardship. It's many years of hardship in America.
How did you learn English?
Attended high school in '82, in September 1982.
Did you fake your age like you said with everybody else?
I asked my mom, but my mom said, because you born in May 1st and you born the year the dragon and the year you born, so none of my family, uh, my brother and stuff like that, were basically had those age. But again, and that's what my mom, and I didn't uh, say anything, but she said that's my real age. But um, so I listen to my mom. I don't know is it real or not. But I remember May 1st, 1964. And I hope it's not real because I'm working so hard. I want to get my first check before I die. And other Cambodian, they are like 3 years short of their retirement, or they make themselves younger so they can attend school, and that's what A1 said. A1 lining up, and they asked their name. This is back in when the interview before we came to America, said if you want your kid to learn English, you have to change their age, and that's why a lot of them are the 3 to 5 years short. And but my mom said this is my real age. I seems like older than my age. And I told my boss that, listen, make sure you keep me alive when I see my first check, and then she can send me to hell. But I do want to see my first check.
Were there a lot of Cambodians when you arrived in Amherst?
My family was the fourth family. Um, your uncle was the person who did the translation. He was the third family. My brother was a second family. The first family was Sapan own, and she was the first one. Was sponsored by the meeting house, right? The meeting house, the first family. Since it was the first, and my brother was second, they put the two family in together in a basement, and both of them have one kid, a kid age. So they were there together for months before they be able to find separate apartment. And then your uncle with Bong Sawanarod, who acting as a translator for me when I was at the airport. So I was the fourth family in Amherst.
What kind of jobs did you have?
Before, I do just about everything. I go into school. I went to school during the daytime, and then on weekend, I my sponsor found me a newspaper job. And since I hate walking, I gave that job to my youngest brother, and I became custodian at different churches and different school. So I cleaned my own church, the Emerald Lutheran Church, and I also clean the school at Hitchcock Center. I clean there, and I clean another school at the South Amherst Monterey School in South Amherst, and so that's my job. And then um, after I clean school and stuff like for a while, I work at the laundry at the Lord Jeffrey Inn, and so do all the laundry. Uh, I also making beds and stuff like that. So those are my job during the high school year.
What about after high school?
After high school, I worked at that time also that I also volunteer because Lin Weintraub, who at the Jones Library, asked me if I'd be able to teach like a summer program for kids, and I volunteered to teach Cambodian language at the same time. And then after high school, I be able to find a job working for the community services, um, and so that's after I finished high school and worked my way up.
When did you leave the church?
I never leave the church. I'm still with the church. I just have not been there lately. My friend asked me, we have not seen you at the church, but most of my sponsors, there's only a few left. That's why I feel really distant from them. When my family first came, every almost every member of the church, they take turn and bring my family to church every Sunday service, and then they bring us places and find a job. So every family in the church there, they took turns taking care of us. But that's why we never ever leave our church. It's still our member. It's just like our life is more consuming, and I go there once in a while, but it's not as every Sunday they used to. I have not been there for a few years now, and but it's always in my heart. And every year I remember we had group member photographs, and I look back and said that I don't see these people anymore. Everything, everyone that I saw in that book and the church group book is gone. There's only a few left.
So, are you a Christian or a Buddhist?
I was born and raised as a Buddhist. My heart always a Buddhist. My Christianity is my belief that was set up in uh, the path that I left Cambodia for a while, and these are the people, the Christianity and the church group, who basically is part of my second family and my new life. So I am in both places, and I have the same question asked to me before, which path I prefer to take the most. There's no good path and bad path. My path is basically to be myself, and my path is basically to practice what I brought up when I was young, um, as a Buddhist practice. And the same thing, I never give up my friends, family members that I found when I came to America at the church. So I practice everything, and I believe just about everything.
What about the temple in Leverett? Can you tell me about that a little bit?
Your grandmother, Siwon, my aunts and uncles, and my mom, and a few people um, in East Hampton, we were so active. These are the people who are all sponsored by the church and churches in our area here. And these are the people who also said that, we love to go to churches, um, but we also missing something. Being a Cambodian and don't have a Buddhist temple, it's just so much emptiness for our parents. So the elders, your grandmother, my mom, my aunt, uncles, and other group, they said that as our sponsor, can you please help us? Maybe have a Cambodian temple there. So that's why we found a monk in Mahakosnanda in Providence, Rhode Island, and asked him to help us to build a Cambodian temple. And that's how it started. That's all started with your grandmother and a few other elders at the Lord Temple. And our church is also supporting us in building the temple. We cannot start alone. It's all helped by the community in Amherst, East Hampton, Northampton, our Western Mass area. Um, uh, so that's how it happened. Just a few of elders who say that there's Cambodian, but if there's no Cambodian temple, there is no Cambodian in the area. There's no culture exists. So that's why start by them.
So, who were the people who helped with construction?
I do not firsthand know, and your uncle um, no more. Chum, Bong Chum no more, and Bong Chum also part of the construction. I was part of the planning. I know that I met at Alien's house with the architecture, and they asked me how do we want the temple look like if we want to build it. So I started to pull pictures and from the memory. Back then there's no photograph, nothing at all. So it start from what they can find on old books. There's no internet. We don't know those things back then. And from a memory, and they start to do scratching and said this is what we want the Cambodian temple look like. And so I were helping with the planning and while your uncles and other grandparents and clearing the forest. and put up tents, stuff like that.
What was that like having a temple in your new home?
Again, like I said, that if there are no Buddhists, there's no culture. So it is to reassure us that our culture is alive, so we can meet and hear each other and associate with each other. And these are Cambodian. The best thing that we do together is always during the celebration. Without the temple, we cannot have a celebration. We used to take turn when New Year arrived. We used to take turn in celebration in the under the basement churches, like the Christ Church. And when we have our temple, we really be able to say this is our home again, second home, and we are Cambodian again because we have our temple. And then we have a Buddhist monk who our guidance again. And without those Buddhist monks, without the nuns and wise men, and our culture is just so empty. We're Cambodian, but it's not a complete Cambodian without those people. So it's yeah, it's make us proud and make us being Cambodian in the new land better.
Do you have any last memories you want to share?
The only memory that I always have was um, when I was young, raised in the village, that I always have pleasant uh, doing farming, rice farming, and stuff like that. Those are memory. I try to forget all the bad memories I have seen, and but I try to remember the part that I was walking through the rice fields with my grandmother, with my aunts and uncles in my village, and those are the best memory. And so I never, every time I see picture of Cambodia, sometimes I just cry because it's my home, it's my home over there. Because I used to see the trees, the forest, stuff is so green, the sky is so blue, and but this is my imagine that my memory as a young kid. I see those things, and when I see Cameron picture, I still had those memory back then. But I know there's a lot of bad thing for many years in my life. But when I see the Cameron picture, the countryside picture, everything else just gone.
Can you tell us more about your work in the Amherst Regional High School?
To start with, when I was in college, first year college, I do as an internship at the high school, and then as a turn also create like after school program at the Four River School, and then there was a TBE program opening for the Four River School, and Mr. Sam Eun May was the first Cambodian transitional bilingual program. He asked me if I can go ahead and teach, um, and I turned down the offer because I want to keep going to school. And that was 1991. And then the end of 91, I worked for the chapter one program at the Four River School. And while I was working there, the bilingual teacher at the Amherst School, he went to Cambodia and then asked me to help to teach for a while he was on leave. So I did. And then later on, we learned that he unfortunately passed away. And they asked me to go ahead and teach the job, take over the job. So then that's 1992, 93 when I came to Amherst High School to teach Cambodian bilingual program. And Amherst High School, to begin with, probably was the only school that accepted Cambodian who are older than their age. They are not only Cambodian not only use their age to attend school, but when I start school, I was 18 years old, and a couple of my friends was like 20 or 21 years old. And but because Lauren Kavanaugh, who is the back then is a guidance counselor, she told the school board that these are the Cambodian who gone through so much, and they asked the town to go ahead and accept any Cambodian student who want to learn, and that's how we started. So the Amherst High School was the only school in United States that offering Cambodian classes to the Cambodian people, learning Cambodian language, history, and culture, all in Cambodian. And so when Mr. Yang Sam passed away, they asked me to come and start teaching the bilingual program until 2003. That's when the program, one, they reduce size of student, and two, because the bilingual program is also run and support by the fund from the state. So when the state that they don't want to support the program anymore, and that's when I left in 2003.
What is a lesson about life in Cambodia you would like to share with people?
Good question. A lesson that I learned, a lesson that I have in Cambodia to share with people. I know that we had years of suffering. Your parents, my parents, and my age, your father, we all had gone through hell before we even come to America. We always said that we are not a refugee, we are just a bunch of survivor because we was tortured so much. Our parents said that as soon as they were born, they saw war and destruction. We have 100 years of colonization during by the French. And then after the French, and then World War II, and then we have another many years under the Japanese. So war again, and then they disarm the French, but they use Cambodian as for their war raw material to supply their uh, material. And then when the end of World War II, they rearm the French again, and under the French colonization, Cambodians suffer. We're not allowed to be Cambodian. And we were name tag. We had to have ID. We had to work so hard and pay everything to the French. We were not allowed to rule our life. The French used the Vietnamese to oversee internal and external affairs because they don't want educated Cambodian. So after 100 years of colonization and after many years of World War II, and then the Vietnamese again invade Cambodia. When the Vietnamese invade Cambodia, they change all the streets name. They change Cambodian life. They're not allowed Cambodian to be educated. And so during the French, were not allowed to be educated. Cambodian were not allowed to be in school. And then during the Vietnamese, Cambodian were forced to learn Vietnamese and then Russian, and Cambodian language is a third language. So there's a lot of lesson to learn in terms of memory. Like I said, the only thing good part about memory that I have had all this time is when I was young in the countryside. But everything else, I look at the years I suffer. That's not my memory. I know that after end of the war in 1991, after the Vietnamese left country and Cambodia now have control of themselves, Cambodians are now so prosper, but I see there's a lot of destruction. Just in the city of Phnom Penh alone, I know that there's so much um, beautiful lakes, stuff like that. But now I couldn't find the lake that I used to play with. But Cambodia is so much prosper now. There's so many things grow up, going up, many skyscrapers. There's so many changes. But those are new things that I experienced firsthand after the war because I never seen the country grow so fast and stuff like that, like any other Cambodia, like in Cambodia. And but in terms of the memory lesson to learn, I don't have specific any memory. It's a Cambodian always the kind people that I use that I know of the culture always kind. Uh, I for people who want to know Cambodian firsthand and really had to basically um, go visit Cambodia. But in the memory, I only have the memory that I have had when I was young before the war.